there's new provincial legislation that's been proposed that is basically trying to strengthen regulations around trespassing, because we have had animal rights activists both threaten to come to farms as well as trespass onto farms, sometimes in large groups of people, that are obviously really putting a damper on moods in the industry. Farmers are worried, what happens if a group of people comes to my farm, which is the exact same thing in this case, is also my home. Certainly with these new proposed regulations, a lot of it is about strengthening what's already there to try to deter people from actually coming to farms, entering barns, in some cases taking livestock, and really doing, what for them is a big show, but for us is our livelihoods and our businesses, is trying to deter that and say, you can still certainly be against it if you want, but do it in a public place, do it on a sidewalk, do it in a park, not here at our homes. Well, it's probably the biggest fear that I would have is not necessarily what I would do, but what happens when my kids that are 5 and 7 are playing in the backyard, which is at the front of the barn here. What happens if they're playing around, and what are they going to see, and how are they going to interact with them? And it's one of those things where, this being our home, being our private property, we should feel comfortable and safe here. I shouldn't have to worry about my kids playing in the backyard. But certainly when you hear stories of like this, of people coming, I always think, well, what if my kids are home and I'm not? We're putting in 70 or 80 hours a week, in which the whole goal is to look after the cows. Giving them the proper feed, making sure they've got water, making sure they're as comfortable as they can be, is actually the best thing for the cow. Because whenever they're looked after, they're going to give more milk, which then in turn helps us. So it's one of those, kind of things where we always want the absolute best for them so they can give their best to us. The next step that I really hope that the government, brings forward is to make sure that law enforcement is trained on, what some of these tactics are and what some of these issues are, so that when an incident does take place, they're ready to respond appropriately.